to the 5th episode of the Indoencers Podcast. Today, we have an incredibly talented playback singer joining me, the voice behind hits such as Madarika Pogadadi from the Vijay Star Argya Tamil Mahan, Kara Takara and Tira Ula from OK Kanmani, and Ni Mattum Podum, a duet track with Sid Sriram, among many other songs. Over the past few years, she has also made a name for herself in the independent scene, firstly with Mandiram, a band she co-founded with Cincinnati-based producer Radar with a K, and with her latest track released by director Gautam Vasudev Menon, titled Vaanthirukindra Porudil. To discuss the journey that has led her to where she is today, I'm joined by the extremely versatile and talented singer, Darshana KT. Let's just start off general. You're our first ever guest who's not based in India. And no matter how many times we say it, this year has brought upon unprecedented, strange times. So how has the events of this year impacted your life, both from a musical perspective and outside music?
In a very strange way and in a very creepy way, I have prayed so many nights and so many days just so people would be okay with me recording from here at my own house. So I could, send the audio over and I don't have to physically be present in a studio recording for the music director or the composer. I did not pray for Corona, that's for sure. But having said that, yes, I've had to travel extensively because unlike many others, my full-time singing career in the music industry for the films especially started after I got married. In the year 2007, when Madarika Pogadadi released, that was my first big song. And so, but then that was released 2-3 months after I got married. And by that time, I'd already come to Chicago. And so for me, I had to figure out how to make this work from the very beginning. I had to figure out how do I travel every year, or do I do 6 months here and 6 months in India? How do I plan my PR? How do I plan my shows? I think over the last 10 years, I've slowly, steadily made a lot of mistakes, learned from them, and then now I'm in a place where I have my own home studio, a very small setup. I record, some of my own songs. I record for people from here to there and, pass on the audio. Some of them are okay for me to do that, but some of them still insist that, I think you should be in Chennai, or I think you should be in Bombay to record. And that's fine. It's each individual's process of, working with an artist. Sometimes they feel it's better, that you have the artist right in front of you. And then that's when you basically have a rapport, and then you figure out, you bounce off ideas better. And then there's not much of a time lag because you're right there. So everything's happening real time. So I understand that part as well. But I think right now more recordings or more work is happening online through Skype, and we're, technologically advanced, or we are using it a lot more. So I think in a weird way, the last 10 years has prepared me for working from home full time in COVID situations.
Let's take it right back, as we tend to do on this podcast, and try to trace your journey to where you are today. So Let's start from the very beginning. What's your earliest memory in terms of music?
My earliest memory is what my mom had told me. We were renting out a place, and our neighbors' daughters used to learn Carnatic music. And I think I was about 4.5 or 5 at that point in time. So avaloda veetoda, there was like a small area right outside their house. It's not a hallway exactly, but it's an entryway, I would say. So I believe I would just go sit there and listen to that 1-hour class, and then I would just come back home, and I would have memorized it, and I would just be singing. So I think that's when Amma kind of realized that I would sing. But I think more importantly, Amma's influence, she is a very big fan of Lata Mangeshkar. She grew up in Calcutta, and she is herself given a lot of, stage shows, Calcutta, like school, colleges and all that. So Amma Nariya, she would sing a lot at home. And I think I picked up a lot from my mom. And my dad, he used to listen to the Beatles a lot and all of the 60s and 70s cassettes that he would play. And so it was always there in the house. And it sort of became a very natural surrounding for me, music. So I think that would be I guess the earliest I started to sing. And yeah.
So I know that you started learning Carnatic music from the age of 5, and I've read that you were listening to Arabic music as well. But
Yeah.
in terms of musical exposure, what sort of balance do you think your influences took up between the Arabic influences, which would have come because of the environment and the country you were living in, compared to the Indian music?
So I think as an artist, you always want to try different things. You just don't want to stick to one thing. At least for me, it's like even right now, my playlist, it would have it would have Yanni, and the next thing I'm listening to is Monster by Eminem, and the next song is by MS Amma's song. So it's I'm not somebody who can listen to the same thing over and over again unless I'm obsessed with it. So I need that kind of change. So because I'm constantly, my ears are, I don't know, grasping so many things without my own knowledge. So growing up, yes, I did learn Carnatic music, but after a point I was like, this is boring. And I was very scared to tell this to my mom and dad because they were I think in any art is like investment, right? You're investing your time, your energy. It's like you're practicing, your whole family is looking forward to you singing somewhere. And so I was in two minds to tell them, I know I'm not feeling it, can we like stop Carnatic? We're not. So I didn't have the guts to do that. So but what I would do is, okay, where in the music at that point, right? So school busla, they would play radios of Arabic songs. I would listen to those songs and I would practice those songs during recess at school. And so for me, Arabic songs and, Christina Aguilera was a very big thing at that point. So those kind of songs were meant for school. And then I would come back home and then do Shri Gananatha Sindhura Varna. It was like that. And then, so for me, I think without my knowledge, I kind of separated both of them. How it worked out for me later on is when at some point you're drawn towards certain kinds of music where you feel good about it. And you have this curiosity of, hey, how would this song sound in my voice? Let me try that. So I would do that a lot. That's when I started listening to a lot more. As when 11th, 12th is when I started listening to a lot more music, world music, not just, Indian Bollywood or Tamil music's scenario. அந்த மாதிரி இல்லாம கொஞ்சம் world music I started listening. And then, of course, when I got to college is when I got to explore the whole range and very excited to sing whatever I wanted to sing and however I wanted to sing, because that was the point where I felt, nobody can say anything because I'm in college and I know so much. so I wouldn't say balance exactly. I was just trying to play it very safe and trying to make everyone happy. Oh, amma appa kitta idu paadina, they'll be happy. Ennoda happiness ku I would do whatever. And then someone else in my class would say, hey, why don't you sing that song? And then I'd go back and sing that song for them. So in a way, I was getting to understand my voice better just by dabbing into a lot of things.
You brought up school. Were there sort of organized music classes or music programs that you're part of that contributed to your early musical education?
So we had this very regular school stuff. I think in Kuwait at that point, we didn't have inter-school competitions as such. I don't remember going to inter-school competitions, but within schools, you have like section A, section B, section C, and, kids who are interested can write down your name. And most of it would be, I would look for, okay, in the classes level, we're going to have the music competition. If it is during math and physics, obviously I want to participate because I don't want to be in the class. So so I would do that because I never felt the need to like prove like I needed the first prize or the second prize. But yes, I have done a lot of school competitions for music, and of course because of Amma's influence with Hindi songs, Nariya Hindi songs paadve. I still remember singing this very old song. Aapki nazaron ne samjha. And my Hindi teacher liked it so much. She was like, I'm going to give you +5 on your Hindi for this. And India, when I studied in India as well, my earlier days, a lot of competitions like Tambras and Bhaktaswara, all the bhajan competitions, so much of exposure. You meet so many other singers. It's a different vibe. Like there's no pressure. You just go sing. I think the pressure is only for the music teachers who take us for these competitions. Ayyo, number school first varnume. We just go, have a lot of fun and get to meet new people from other schools. And that was how my school was concerned with music.
So, I mean, you've brought up that obviously you're an Indian living in Kuwait. Essentially, in your childhood days, you were what's considered an NRI or non-resident Indian. And listening to many artists in the Indian industry give interviews nowadays, many of them come from a similar background where they lived outside India but came to India and got into the industry. But hearing them speak, many of them talk about identity crises where they're Indian, but they live in a completely separate environment. So perhaps many artists feel that they don't have a foundation, that their foundation is sort of split, and that can lead to a sort of internal crisis. So I just wanted to hear, was that something that ever crossed your mind?
I don't know how to put this. So I did my schooling in India up until I think 7th or 8th grade. And then on, we moved to Kuwait. My father was there right from the start, but we went as a family. We moved to Kuwait around when I was in 7th or 8th grade. So it became mandatory for us to travel to India every year for vacation time, the summer vacation time. So initially it was very difficult. But then what happened was I had friends both in Kuwait and in India. I would get to know what these guys are doing. I'll take those memories and I'll spend the rest of the year with the rest of my friends in Kuwait. And Amma Appa were a part of the Tamil Sangam back in Kuwait. So I wouldn't say I was completely alienated from, the Indian culture and it's funny you said being in Kuwait, you're an NRI. No one was considered NRI if they were from Kuwait. We were all considered... you're either a Kuwaiti or a Malayali. Like that's it. Like no one else. So thank you for even putting me into that NRI community. I wouldn't say as much as NRI. I do feel like an NRI right now, living in Chicago, because there's not as much community. I do feel left out or alienated right now. But growing up, I never felt the identity crisis. And because we were in Tamil Sangam, people knew that I sing. I've performed with Mr. Manu, singer Manu, Raja sir oda na perform pannirken. And then Balachandar sir had come. So we'd done this Villupaattu. So, they taught us, Villuna enadu, why do we sing Villupaattu? And, everything was taught. So I wouldn't say on the environmental, I didn't receive anything. but I didn't feel alienated or no identity crisis. In fact, when I came back to Chennai for my college, I didn't feel like I don't know anyone, because we were in the same building. My friends were still living there, that the people that I'd known since I was 6 years old or 7 years old, they were still there. And it was like, oh, so now it's not vacation anymore, you're just going to be here. They're like, okay, thank you for inviting me like that, but it was very welcoming. I think very lucky.
So, as you just mentioned, you soon shifted to Chennai and you went to MOP Vaishnav College to major in journalism and media, if I'm correct. Was there a reason why you didn't push for music immediately? Where was your mind in terms of pursuing a musical career at that point?
Journalism and media, I actually wanted to take up something in communication because I love to talk. I love to interact with people. So I wanted to take up something to do with communication. And at that point, there were only two available courses, I believe. I'm sorry, there were three. The one was visual communication. There was also electronic media that they had provided. And there was a new course, which was journalism and media. And I discussed with my mother, and she strongly felt, I think, if you go into journalism and media, you like writing, you like talking, you like connecting with people. And I'm also someone who likes to voice out my opinions. And this is straight out of our dinner table. We're a very low vocal family. So, so she said, I think this might be the course for you. I mean, you can be the voice of so many other people who are in need, or your opinions. I think you should do it. I was quite reluctant. I didn't want to do it at the beginning. But I think gradually I started enjoying the course, and I got to meet a lot of the film celebrities and all of those people, and it was very very interesting to see how they are, the aura, the persona that they have when you see someone on TV, and when you see that same person live face to face, it's different. I don't know how to explain it, but it is different, and you get more curious. And I had more questions, so I would ask all the questions. And it was a very good time of my life, because I was getting to interact and meet people. And so at that point, I didn't really think much about music. And funnily enough, I didn't even I was not even a part of the cultural group or music group in my college. I just tried to stay away from it. And that was a very, very conscious effort, because deep down I knew that I wanted to get into music and I wanted to record. And this was way back to, sorry, I'm taking you back to another flashback. We lived near a film theater in Adyar. And when I was in second or third grade, the Roja had just released. So they had this huge speakers outside the theater. And this guy would be controlling the whole kutti box madri, play and rewind, play and rewind. So I was in love with Pudu Vellai Mazhai Ingu Poi. So I would give him 3 rupees every single time for him to play the song over and over again. Now, when I was in third grade, it was just like across the street. So I didn't know how they made the music. I didn't know the technicality behind it. I just knew that one day my song has to come out like that on a speaker. I just knew it deep down. I've never had a plan B for my career or my life. It's always been music. It was not like decision that it just happened. I've always worked towards this. So college I was singing all my life, the school ella edathiliyume. But college I specifically wanted to experience other things as well. So I gave more importance to things like sports. I played badminton. I represented my college. I represented the state, I think, at some later point. I was into basketball, throw ball, things that I wouldn't generally do. Like I even went into dance, knowing that they will place me somewhere in the third row, knowing that I would never get the importance, because in my head I think I'm the greatest dancer, but it's horrendous. It's a visual torture. So, but nevertheless, I just wanted to have a lot of fun. So culturals பாட்டுல I've never gotten into it, but I used to do a lot of recordings outside of college. I started recording. I worked for Manikant Kadri. He Kadri sir oda son. He's also a music composer. அவரோட நிறைய independent songs, jingles, I used to go sing a lot, and that's when I got a lot of the knowledge. Mic முன்னாடி எப்படி பாடணும், like how should your breath control be, because singing live is different, singing in front of a mic in a studio is different. So then I sang for Rajesh Vaidya sir a lot. அவரோட வீண கான்சர்ட்ஸுக்கெல்லாம் நிறைய அவர் என்ன வந்து ஹீஸ் கிவன் மீ ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி பாடி பாடி தான் சன் டிவியில், ஸ்டார் டிவியில் ஏதோ தே கால் மீ ஃபார் பேக்ரவுண்ட் மியூசிக் பாடணும். And I was like very excited. So went there and அங்க போனா the Sun TV, the serial that my grandmom used to watch, அதோட next episode is happening, and they wanted me to sing for the villain. When the villain turns like 3 times or something, they wanted some oohs and ahs for that. I was like, okay. And they said, oh, you will also get paid. Extraordinary, let's go for this. And I just really thoroughly enjoyed. I think I was much more confident because of big thanks to Manikant Kadri sir and Rajesh Vaidya sir. I think they were very patient in helping me understand the recording process and everything. And the foundation irundathanala, it was easier for me to not make a mess of the other recordings that I was called into. So yeah, I would say that's how it started in college.
And during your time in India as well, I'm aware that you were in bands performing with the likes of Vignesh Shivan and Taran, who are big names in the industry today. So what sort of music were you playing in those bands, and how do you think working in a band environment contributed to your musical education?
Bands again happened with the scene when I mentioned outside of college that I was just trying to have a completely different life. And again, I think the first reason that you should be a part of a band is for the friendship, and then how you musically connect, and then the very fact that you guys, we guys used to talk to each other, trying to uplift each other's energies, and saying, hey, in the tune when the it would be in sort of making fun of each other, but at the same time trying to tell them, hey, you need to improve, and you need to improve, and we need to be better as a band, and things like that. So you get to work in an environment where you're sort of getting used to a lot of criticism, but not in a weird way. It's criticism to make you better. And then because it's not just you who's performing, and you want everyone to perform well in a band, and you want that vibe, you want everyone to be on the same plane. So yes, of course, Vignesh Shivan is a big director today, and I'm very, very happy for him. But I still remember the days when he used to be the drummer, and we used to have so much fun at Dharan's place, rehearsing and practicing, and I'm happy to see everyone live their dreams right now. It's such a good feeling to see that. So yeah, bands has been definitely a very important foundation for me. I later felt இப்போ நான் என்னோட இண்டிபெண்டன்ட் மியூசிக் பண்ணறதே வந்து it's because I miss those days. I miss the fact that we were able to rehearse and no one was busy. We were just not doing anything, and we would be like, okay, just let's go to this guy's house and jam or do something. So because of the fact that I was missing out on all that, I just felt we should all try and connect, or I should try and work with people over here somehow and try to bring out some music. And yeah, I think I really do miss band and my band and my olden golden college days.
And as you mentioned before, you were performing with the likes of Rajesh Vaidya, with the likes of Manikant Kadri, who, and particularly Rajesh Vaidya, is one of the most notable names in terms of that side of music, in terms of Veena players in India. Those sort of opportunities don't come out of nowhere. So in terms of networking, How much did being in India help? And were there any conscious steps that you took in order to connect with certain people or in order to try and get yourself certain opportunities?
I think no matter what stage you are in, whether you're established or whether you're somewhere in between trying to find your ground or you're just starting out, I feel networking is so important, building connection and also working on goodwill, friendship, making sure that you are good enough for people to think, okay, you know what, if I call her for a recording, she will do a good job. That's very important. So you need to first build a reputation for yourself so people know that, okay, this is her genre, this is what she is or he is, and it's worth it. We can call her and work with her. So that is step one. It did help that I was in India, to be honest, especially when you're starting out. I mean, for me at least, luckily I was at the right place at the right time, and somebody knew somebody who wanted a singer for Rajesh Anna, and they said, "Ninga paada mudiyuma?" And I was like, okay, I will definitely sing, because I was just waiting to get to meet him, you know. And what a nice person he is, you know. Other I think, or a musician or artist, or you should be very giving. You should be okay with sharing your knowledge, and which is exactly what he did. Like, he would teach us harmonies eppadi edukano, group la eppadi paadano, live la eppadi paadano. He would do that, and he would do that very patiently. So I think, yes, networking, in the sense, being the right place at the right time, right connections, and you should know what you, I mean, I got a lot of opportunities college la irukradhanaala, and because I was in the band scene, you know, a lot of people, and everyone wants to collaborate, everyone wants to work with everyone. But I think it's up to you to, choose what you want to do. Like, do you want to be only a recording artist? Do you want to be someone who just does composing and not want to do anything else with the music scene? Or do you want to do both, also produce? There are a lot of things. So networking at all stages, very important, very very important, because in music industry, like, once you lose contact, or you are forgotten. It's not it's a very open secret, because there are so many other people coming in. So if you want to make a mark for yourself, you better be really good, and you got to be in the scene. You've got to do your networking, not in a creepy stalking kind of a way, but you know what I mean. You got to say your hellos and highs and share your work, and yeah.
So you talked about how in Kuwait you were sort of in two minds and part of you wanted to quit Carnatic music. How was your Carnatic music education going along once you came back to India? Did you let it go, or were you learning, or were you just practicing on your own?
I actually didn't talk about it much to my mom, so she thought maybe, let's not force her. Let's just let it be. But second year college la வந்து, when I started doing a lot more independent music and bands la பாடுறது, other things, I got the opportunity to meet Bombay Jayashree ma'am. I mean, that has been, she's my idol. She's my guru. She's everything. Like, her voice, her personality, the aura, her music, everything about her is magical, and in such a calming way. So எனக்கு வந்து, I just to meet her, I was so darn excited. And then she heard me sing, and I said, Amma Shana, would love for you to teach her if you can. And she was so nice, and she said, of course, yes. And I started learning from Jayashree ma'am. This happened while I was at college. So that was and it lasted for about 7 months, because adukapra Jayashree ma'am started traveling a lot more, and I also took up internships with the likes of the Hindu and other newspapers. So sometimes ஒரு 2-3 class அவ கூப்பிட்ட போ என்னால போக முடியல. And then when we wanted to reschedule, ma'am had, obviously, she has so many other students, and it eventually, it didn't work out. It fizzled out. But those 7 months I will cherish for life, and I'm really hoping I get to meet her again at some point. But apart from that, I was always in touch with Carnatic music and நிறைய workshops எல்லாம் போவேன். It was not like I completely stopped singing, but I did keep in touch with that side of music, and I started concentrating more on film singing. Or tani, that film singing is a separate genre. Indian Bollywood and Collywood songs is a separate genre in itself. So I started listening to more. I took Raja Sir songs and started like listening to albums after albums after albums on how he has used the voices of so many people. And Janaki Amada voice ella chumma ukande you study those voices and you see like what kind of breath control are they using, or how are they doing this, how is she singing. The same person, same movie, two songs sounds entirely different. How is she doing this? How is she thinking for those songs? Like you need to get into that zone. If it's a sad songs liye rendu sad songs vera mari padirpa, like Chinna Thayaval and some other song. I don't know. I think it's Un Parvayil. There's also another version. There's a sad version, I think, of that song. And then there's Chinnataya. It's like how are you doing this? What are you having in your throat to do this? And then there's SPB sir. There's Chitrama. Every love song of hers, and there's so much to study. The voice, the vocal tonal quality, so much to study. So I did that. I like obsessed. I would just keep listening and keep listening and keep listening. And the tricky part is that you have to learn everything, but you need to create your own voice and your own style, and not because it's very easy for people to say, oh, you sound like Harala. And then you're thinking, God, why would you say that? I put in a lot of energy, but guess what? That's the truth. You are sounding like somebody else. So, if when I was starting out to get into film music, I said, எனக்கு வந்து I want to sound just like some ஒரு பெரிய singer பேர் சொன்னேன். And then there's this really elderly gentleman who'd come home, and he joking, he said, well, I'm sure if the music director wanted her kind of voice, he can call her. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? That's just common sense. And then I'm like, okay, change your entire way of learning, an entire way of. So even if I make a cover song or make an independent song, I try to not take the soul away from the song, the beauty away from the song, but I try to give what my voice can do with the song. And that's when I had the actual identity crisis, because I didn't know who I was. Because you are your voice. Your voice is you. Like you become one at and it's been like that always. I never could say it out, but that's how it is. I cannot differentiate. So under Samethala, I had a big identity crisis because I didn't want anyone to say you sound like somebody else. And at the same time, I was really crossing my fingers and hoping that people would like my voice. அந்த ஒரு 2-3 years நான் ரொம்பவே கஷ்டப்பட்டேன். Because emotionally you're going through so much. Everyone's coming saying, oh, ரொம்ப நன்னா பாடினியே. But I don't know if I sounded like myself or if I sounded like somebody else. That constant questioning and constantly, pushing yourself to do better. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
I'm
yes.
curious, were there any specific singers that you thought you sounded similar to, or you were worried that people would say you sounded similar to?
So I would sing a lot with the cassette, and I would sing a lot with the CDs later on. So when you're singing along with it, you somehow feel you sound just like them, even if you're off pitch, even if you're sounding horrendous. In your head, you're thinking, I sound just like Chitrama. But it's not. It is just so not. And then my mom would come and say, "Mudiyala, please, அந்த மாதிரி பாடாதே, நல்ல பாட்டு அது." So I've been through that. I've never had like I sound like so and so அப்படிங்கிற crisis விட I hope I don't sound like anybody. I have to sound like myself, and I have to absolutely work on certain things that my voice can do, and I have to focus on those positives and make sure that comes across in every song that I perform. So that will be my the X factor or my USP or however you would call it. That would be me. அதுதான் என் வாய்ஸ், இப்படிதான் உன்னோட ஒன் ஷேட் ஆஃப் யுவர் வாய்ஸ்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பர்சன் டு பிரிங் இட் அவுட் வாஸ் ரஹ்மான் சார். He's the one who figured out, okay, this girl can sing this. I would have never thought that I could manage a song like Madurai Ki Pogadadi.
Say you bring up Madurai Ki Pogadadi, and that's when I would say, and think you've said as well, that your playback singing career really took off. But as you mentioned earlier on, pretty much a few months after that, you got married and you shifted to the US. And we alluded to this beforehand, but you continued recording songs both remotely and by periodically coming back to India. But particularly nowadays, where remote recording is almost becoming a necessity, how would you compare the two recording styles, and what challenges do you think remote recording brings that a face-to-face recording perhaps wouldn't?
So initially, when Madurai Ki Pogadadi released, I was very happy that he had used my voice. So, because I didn't know till the end, and I was so super excited. And that was a very big launch as well. But I was not in a position to fly back immediately. And that year, I also got nominated for Filmfare, Best Playback Singer. Now, the event, I was not here. So I came after about 8-9 months. And then there were other recordings for which I got called by Rahman sir. At that point, I never thought about, I should probably have a studio set up. I should, work on having a studio set up back in Chicago, because I don't have to do this over and over again. It's only after 2-3 trips that I made, when it's exhausting, because you have your family somewhere and you're working somewhere, and there's just, and it's not like a 1 week separation, it's 4 months separation, and it's exhausting mentally, physically, it's exhausting. So appada I thought we should do this, try this. And then my husband, of course, helped me set up the studio, and we invested in a mic and a small studio setup, and we started recording by ourselves. I figured out remote recording so I used to ask my friends, hey, the tune why don't you send it across here, I want to sing. First of all, time, they give a recording, the track on Thursday. I would be able to record it only on a Saturday, because my husband KT used to record. So I had to wait for him to finish his week's work, because he's free only on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I had to, wait for him to come record me. And a Saturday night is a Sunday morning over there. So essentially, if you give me a song on Thursday, I'm going to be able to give you a song only Sunday evening your time. And so this lag, I felt, was not going to help. I didn't really start campaigning saying, oh, I have my home studio set up over here. And this was like 7 years back. I never campaigned about it, because I didn't think it was right for me to say, get me the songs and I'll take like 5 days for you to record. That's not okay. That's not professional. And we have to understand nariya lyrical corrections irkalam. In that emotion ipdi paadunga, they might want 2-3 varieties. There was a gap, and I did not know how to fill that gap. So I needed to work on a lot of things. I needed to know, okay, now I didn't have those softwares that I have today. Today you have a WhatsApp, which 8 years back, I don't think there was something called WhatsApp, or the kind of communication that you have today. I think today I'm in a much better spot, because I have worked to make this work, and not put the other person, the composer, in a position where ஏண்டாப்பா இந்த சாங்க கொடுத்தோன்னு ஆயிடக்கூடாது. They should be in a mindset that, okay, இன்னைக்கு கொடுத்தா நாளைக்கு பாட்டு வந்துரும். And also in a way that Darshana kita, if you give her this song and tell her that this is the emotion, she will be able to handle it. And for them to come to that conclusion, or at least have that thought, they should see the body of work. And for that requires like oru songla nobody is going to accept you. They might appreciate you, but it's going to take years and years of work for them to accept you. And I'm not talking about general public. General public is always so sweet and accepting. You sing something, they're very appreciative and they accept. But accepted by people who want to work with you, அதுக்குன்னு ஒரு crowd இருக்குல்ல, அதுக்கு it was a very grueling, very very difficult 7-8 years in between. But I think it was worth it, because every small step we took was towards, it was progress. So at that point I didn't think so much about perfection in a recording. I was thinking only of progress. I would send it back to one of my friends who'd be a sound engineer, and I would say, tell me if this is okay. And he would say, no, the first line you've kept the mic your head somewhere, the second line sounds different, if your editing is not okay, so that would be the second recording. So every recording, your acoustic is not okay, work on it. And if this line is given and these are the chords, try to sing it this way. So this comes purely out of practice, and that is why I never gave up on flying back to India whenever I could and record, because I needed that experience of being there and singing and see how they communicate and how they want and what is their work style. And I think that working with Rahman sir for like a solid 10-year, and now still counting, hopefully, you kind of understand the vibe in which they want their recording to be. It will change, it will evolve, but you have that connect. And so what I would do is I would imagine, okay, in the madri recording what would be the instructions that I would get, what would they expect out of me, why don't I explore and do everything that I know, and whatever I have learned, let me just implement everything. And then see, okay, give them even 4 tracks. See, the more number of tracks you give is not a problem. வெறும் ஒரே ட்ராக் கொடுத்தாதான் ப்ராப்ளம், ரைட்? ஸோ ஐ வாஸ் லைக், யூ நோ வாட், லெட்ஸ் மேக் 4 tracks, same line, 4 tracks, and give 4 emotions to it. Okay, but if it is love, let's see how many kinds of love you can give. And that is when your whole, whatever you have studied, the voices that you have studied comes into play. You say, okay, you take in the part in the emotion, she's used more breath in that, she has used more tone in that, she's used more chest voice in that, idla and the nasal tone use panirka, idla false voice use panirka, head voice false, there's so many. So you try and use all of that, again trial and error, and then you know, finally it works out. So it's not appo different and ippo how is it abdi illa, it's something that I have, it's conscious decisions and mistakes, and you correct your mistakes and you learn from them, you try your best not to repeat, and then you move on, and then they say, oh good, she's able to record this, let's try and give her more songs to work on. And then you finally you have their trust that okay, this can work out. that's how it's been for me.
So yeah, you've sung many songs as a playback singer, and you've talked about many of your biggest hits in other interviews, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But I'd like to focus on one song that continues to fascinate me personally, which is Muafi Mushkil from Mom, composed by AR Rahman. And the song has a really unconventional structure. It doesn't have a time signature, it doesn't necessarily have a rhythm. So how did Rahman sir explain the concept or the flow of the song to you?
So I would say, first of all, thank you for choosing Muafi Mushkil. Not many people, it doesn't resonate with many, unfortunately. But for me, I think Muafi Mushkil is very, very close to my heart because it's Sridevi ma'am's last movie. Second of all, I wasn't supposed to sing the song. The song was not made for me. I was called in for a track. And when I heard the basic tune, I sort of emotionally connected to that song. I don't know how to put it. I felt like this was mine. Like I don't say that about other songs. I always say Madhuriki Pogadadi is Rahman sir's composition, and because I'm just contributing to the song. I'm just a singer. But Muafi Mushkil vande it's so emotionally close to me because I felt that this was me. And the way he had made the structure of the song, see, whenever I sing for him, I never understand the structure because it's always here and there, and it's a lot of ideas that he's trying to put out there for you, and you're trying to absorb how much ever you can and try to comprehend what's happening and then try to sing it and get your vocals out. But in this song, even more so, because he made me write the whole lyrics, whole of the song in Arabic. And so he said, it doesn't need to make sense. I just want gibberish because I just need the words to come out in Arabic format. So I just went and sang the Arabic format. And this was the first time he was not there for the first recording. He was in Bombay and he was Skyping. And I had another recording engineer who was helping me with the recording. And first day recording mudichache, everything was fine. Okay. And then second day, he comes back from his trip to Bombay, and he says, okay, I want you to come to the studio again. And they gave me the Hindi lyrics to the song. And that's when he was there, and he kind of changed the format of the song again. That's when I heard bits and pieces of the piano piece that comes in between. And I think the piano piece was my inspiration to sing this song, because it does something to you when you listen to it. It's emotionally stirring. It goes very, very deep inside. It's not a song that you feel good in your heart and your ears. It's right to your soul. And so at that point, I just told myself, you know what, you have to give your best to the song. And once I started singing, I realized that this was way different from other songs that I have worked up until now, because the vocal tonal quality of this song was so different from Madhuriki Pogadadi or Kara Atakara or Mental Madilo or Tiraula. It did not come into any category that my brain already knew. So I didn't have any song to refer back to. Oh, in the part Chitramma padirkangla, in the part the Janaki amma padirkang. What do I take reference from? It was a blank space. So when I say this was a very difficult song for me, because this was the first time I was creating something from whatever ideas he was presenting to me. This was the first time I got to do that. The first few lines, Muafi Mushkil, it needed the vibrato. It needed the emotion of, please forgive me. It needed tone. It needed a lot of breath. It needed to sync with the tune and the chords. It shouldn't jarringly stand out. It should make you feel calm. For this, I had to emotionally work to get myself to that state, which I have never done before. Madhuriki Pogadadi is a very peppy number. I was so thrilled to sing it. It didn't matter if it was 2:00 at night. If you notice, it's an open throat song. Adhe mari Karuppu Peralaga. It's a very happy song. Ni Mattum Podum, it's a melodious love song. இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஆல்ரெடி எனக்கு தெரியும், இது மாதிரி பாடலாம்ல, இந்த மாதிரி எமோஷன் கொடுக்கலாம்ல. You know what you can refer from. Muafi Mushkil, I did not know what to refer from. And so it was, the only reference I had was Rahman sir standing in front of me and telling, I want you to sing it like this. And he sang it. And his, obviously his version was so much better. the voice, the way he sang it. Of course, as a creator, you already know how the song should sound. So you're much more aware of your tune. நான் இன்னுமே கொஞ்சம் பயந்து பயந்து தான் பாடினேன் அத. But when I got to the line, "Kalila," that line, அது மட்டும் ஒரு 5-6 times நான் பாடியிருப்பேன். Because இதுக்கு ஒரு beat கிடையாது. And it needs to go, the voice has to open out, close, all with the vibrato and the softness and the soul. So I think every line in that song is beautifully composed. And what really uplifts the song is when you hear the piano bit. I get goosebumps every single time I listen to the piano bit. And there are many people who haven't heard it. I don't want to like canvas the song because I have sung it, but just go listen to it just for the piano bit. I mean, it's marvelous. It's a genius composition, and I cannot thank him enough for choosing me. And I think the other singer, for some reason it didn't work out, but the song came to me, and and it's very special because he called me. That was the first time I received a call from Rahman sir. I was already in Chicago by then, and I was receiving a call from India. I thought it was my mom because it said no number, or call panni edutha he said it's Rahman. And I said, "Hello sir." And he said, "So congrats, I'm using your voice for Muafi Mushkil." I said, okay, thank you. I was like, I was in a state of shock, happiness. I was frozen, everything together, because I knew generally when I go in, I don't know if it is a track or if he's going to use my voice. But with this song, I knew it was a track. And deep down, I loved the song. I was, hoping at some point I could sing a song like that. But for him to call and tell me, the song will always be the most special songs that I've ever worked on with him.
Yeah, and that as a prime example, your playback career, you've covered all sorts of types of music with your repertoire as a singer. But this might be a slightly negative perspective, but just as a question, I just want to throw it out there. With the number of singers that are in the industry today, could your versatility as an artist feel like an obstacle rather than an advantage? In the sense that composers may hold the perception that you may not have any specializations?
I've thought about this so many times. Because as an artist, you always question yourself, am I choosing the right songs or whatever? And then it dawned upon me, hey, you're not choosing any songs. Be happy you're getting songs to sing. Why? Because I don't live in India. And so for me, 2 reasons. India kupona, oh, I'm getting a song. Chalo, let's sing it. So I never thought this doesn't feed into my genre. Will I be able to sing this song? Will people... Yeah, I mean, you always have this, okay, in the Madri song, this is this artist. In the artist will sing these kind of songs. Another artist, these kind of songs. You're able to relate. I understand that. And that's what everyone does. But how I see it is so different. I see it as an actor. You will not find an actor who says, I always want to do only one role or play only one role or one character. So I feel like this has been a blessing because என்னோட songs எல்லாமே experimental songs தான். So yes, Kara Atakara was my launch. But I look at it as if I had continued to stay in Chennai after the song, then I would have gotten more and more songs like open throat songs, right? Because that's the way the song is. And so after about 2 years, shelf life koranjodum. That's it. Not everyone is going to keep composing songs like that. But what happened to me was, and this is the biggest blessing I would say now when I look back, when you've asked this question, Madhurike Pokadadi, open throat, Western mix. Then after about 1.5 years, I got to sing Maya Maya. Very few lines, but I'm very proud that I got selected for those few lines even. Then a year and a half later, I get to sing Papu Khan Dansala, and another song in the same movie, Nazare Milana, Nazare Churana, two different songs. Okay, a year and a half after that, Karuppu Peralaga, that's more of chest voice, a little bit of bass. That is also a kuttu song, but it is a different kind of kuttu song.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after a few years, I get to sing rap. Who would have thought of that? Okay. And that is an open throat song as well, just like Madurai Pogadadi, but what a vast difference. And that this has nothing to do with me, it has only to do with the composer. So I feel more than me taking the risk, he has taken that risk and he has had that trust. Okay, let's try this song with Darshana. That's how I see it. And that's why I can never see him as a music director. I always see him as my teacher, because he's throwing this out. Okay, go finish this project and come. And on the movie, Okay Kanmanila, Karatakara is different. It's a rap and open throat. Then I sing Mental Manadil, not the Tamil version, but the Telugu version, for which my voice I had to sing it a little different. And then there is Tiraula, which is just 4 lines. It's Carnatic. It was difficult for me to convince my friends that, hey, this is me. The Kara Atakara is me. Tiraula is also me. But the beauty is that, and then Pradeep. I in fact had a very big conversation with Pradeep. Pradeep is the first music director who gave me the opportunity to work from here. He was the first one to say, okay, I have a song I would like for you to sing, and you can sing it from the US. Okay, so I have to give him those credits. He trusted me with a song. And when I heard the song, the lyrics and the melody, I called him and I said, Pradeep, I don't think I can do this. And he said, why are you deciding that? I said, dude, have you seen my work? Like it's either like Western or hip hop or Arabic, or I've dabbed into all of this. I don't think my voice would suit this song. And I was not convinced. He was very sweet and he said, you sing the song, you give whatever emotions you want, I will help you. He was there on the Skype. He was helping me. If I feel like at the end of it, it's not working out, but let me decide it. Like, give me credits for that. You don't have to decide. I was excited to sing for him because you don't want to mess up Pradeep's melodies. They're beautiful. You don't want to mess up while you're singing alongside with him. Nor do you want to mess up his compositions, right? When the song came out, and when I knew that it was with Sid Sriram, I said, you know what? Oh God, this is just not going to work. It's not. But the amount of appreciation I got was that, Dash, we didn't know you could sing melody. And Dash, Kara Takara and Karuppu Peraga sounding so different from the song. How did you do it? And so it's not about people able to not being able to relate to my voice. It was them being curious, how are you doing this? For which even I didn't have an answer. But I had to fake it and say, well, it's just me. But deep down, no, I didn't have the confidence. Now I know that, okay, I still don't know what else I can work on. What other kinds of music I can sing. Van Tirakindra is an example of that. It's also a very soft side of my vocals, but it is not like Muafi Mushkil. It's a different kind of calming voice. It's a different kind of an emotional state of mind. I think state of mind directly, affects your voice. How you feel is how you will sound, at least for me, like whether you like it or not. It just translates. So I don't see it as as a negative perspective. I in fact see it as the best thing that's happened, because I've been able to, you have singers saying, I'm singing the same kind of songs, they're not calling me for other kind of songs. I'm only singing melodies, I'm so capable of singing a western. Appadina, I've not had the need, touchwood, to do that, simply because Rahman sir wanted to explore different aspects of my voice. And I think complete credit would go to Rahman sir for that. And the complete credit would go to Pradeep. The complete credit would go to Sai Taman. Complete credit would go to Santosh Narayan for, using my voice in different ways.
So speaking of versatility, over the past few years, you've started to get into jazz, if I'm not mistaken. So just starting off general, what specifically about jazz appealed to you?
I didn't know anything about jazz. I didn't even know that there was a genre called jazz. அந்த மாதிரி சாங்ஸுக்கு ஜாஸ்ன்னு பேருன்னு எனக்கு தெரியாது. I only knew R&B, hip hop, rock, and I used to listen to a lot of Beatles, and of course Michael Jackson and Prince. But you need to have a special kind of ear for jazz. Like, I can listen to jazz today, the whole of today. I can listen to just saxophone or just trumpets or just vocals, just scatting. I can do it. But initially, I didn't even know that this is what jazz is. And jazz எனக்கு introduce பண்ணது Rahman sir தான். The song that completely influenced me was that is jazz. I didn't know it was jazz, but I like that song. பறவைகள் செய்யுதே நானும் செய்யுதே காதல் ஜில்லுன்னு ஒரு காதல். That is jazz. It's got so much jazz influence in it. I didn't know it was jazz, but I've always liked those songs. And I wanted to start off, studying something. US wanted to, some music course. I thought I should get into it. And I didn't know there were two spots available. One was for opera, and the other one was for jazz. I obviously took this one because I knew what it was. I've heard it. I knew what the genre was, but I didn't get selected. So I emailed Rahman sir saying, sir, I didn't do well. I didn't get the spot. Do you think I should try jazz, or do you think I should go for something else? He said, of course, jazz.
He's a big fan of jazz, yeah.
Yeah. So when he said, of course, jazz, I was like, why would he say, of course, jazz? There has to be something about jazz. Why would he? It was like, of course, jazz. Like, it's such an obvious answer. Just take it. Like, there, you can't go wrong with it. I went to the library. I went to the music section. I took like 15, 16 CDs. I didn't know what I was picking because it's just jazz, vocals, jazz, instrument, jazz, so many. Picked up everything, started listening to it. The first 3 songs, absolutely hated. Because I didn't know, எங்கெல்லாமோ போயிட்டு வருது note. நம்ம இவ்வளோ நாள் you're in this format, right? You know, இதுக்கப்புறம் தபலா வரும், இதுக்கப்புறம் சித்தார் வரும், இதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு vocals வரும், கன்ஃபார்மா ஒரு harmonies வரும், அப்புறம் மேல் சிங்கர் பாடுவா. There is a format. Yeah. When you go into a place where there is no format, but actually there is a format to it, it takes a while for you to understand. So it took a while for me. It took about a month of continuously listening to it and continuously cribbing at night to my husband saying, this is bad. Why would he say, of course, jazz? This is not okay. Something is wrong. Either something's wrong with my ear, or I don't know why sir said this. And by then, KT started enjoying jazz. So what he did was, randomly you're picking up stuff. Let's just go to the internet and select some artist. Let's see what, okay, you are prone to listen to more of vocals. So let's do that. So the first artist was Ella Fitzgerald. So I took Ella's CD, and the first song that I heard was La Coffee. And the words were so interesting. Feeling right lonesome, hadn't slept a wink. That's when I was like, oh, this is nice. I kind of like it. And then there's Amy Winehouse, Frank Sinatra. Who are these people and why are they so good? And I just became a big fan of jazz vocals. I don't necessarily sing as much as I would like to, but I definitely try to get those factors and somehow try to incorporate all those into my songs, and just understanding their vocals, and it's studying voices all over again, and it's so much more fun. It's what they do with their vocals and what they do with their voices is so different. They imagine their voice to become the saxophone, or they imagine it to become a trumpet, and they mimic it. So the way you think is different. You're thinking like an instrument. You're not thinking like a vocalist. You're thinking like an instrument in itself. So when you think like an instrument, it's different. It's fun. So yeah, that's how jazz got into my life.
And I find this interesting because you come from a Carnatic background, and Carnatic is extremely heavy on the melodic element and pretty much absent on harmony. There's no concept of chords or harmony in Carnatic music. While jazz, on the other hand, I mean, it does have melody, but it's extremely heavy on the harmonic element. You'll have chords that span across multiple notes with all sorts of extensions and all that. So how difficult was it to get into a genre so heavy on harmony when your foundation was pretty much absent on harmony?
And as I mentioned before, I did not like it. I did not like jazz. Because I did not find that core melody. It was not there. It was missing. It was absent. And so when I say you need to train your ear to listen to it, it's the fun part that's behind the vocals, behind the main melody. And it took a lot of work. It's still work in progress for me to understand the harmonies. And I mean, you do sing harmonies. I've sung a lot of harmonies for Raja sir, a lot of harmonies for so many other music directors, for Rahman sir, and the harmonies were. So I do know, like sa, ga, ma, the padano, the parts padano, the part padana, the seriya poidum. That is different, but it is not so much as parallel, but very tangential. I don't know if I'm making sense. So jazz has a lot of tangential notes. It takes you to places where you probably did not expect that thing to go there, and then you're trying to do it vocally. And so slowly I started paying more attention to the instruments that were accompanying the vocalist, which I never did when it was Carnatic. I never paid attention to violinist enna pandra, flute vasikra enna pandra, ghatam eppadi vasikra pinnadi. It was never that. Ava accompaniments. That's it. Main artist yaru? Ava eppadi thalam podra? Oru thalathukku eppadi pirikira notes? These are the things that you are trained to listen and trained to understand. So yeah, when you're trained like that for such a long time, and then of course nadula you just want to like I just put it away, started listening to a lot more, and then you enter into a zone which you have no idea about. So I had no preconceived notion about jazz because I didn't know. So, and it was either I would love it or either I would hate it. It was that. Thankfully, I started loving it. I think jazz has influenced a lot more in music biz, I would say. Evlo artist, I mean, Amy Winehouse, like, look at her, like what the kind of work that she does. Back to Black is one of my favorites. I can listen to the whole of Beyonce. I mean, she's completely like goddess, but a fabulous artist. But and the jazz and the alagu, it's a different beauty. It is. So yeah, you're right. Too different, but it is what it is. That's all. Being an artist is loving everything or trying to learn.
And we see a lot of your jazz influences coming into your work in the independent scene. And I want to get into your duo band with Cincinnati-based producer Radar with a K called Mandiram. And you launched a 4-track mini EP earlier this year, if I'm correct, featuring 2 film song covers, 1 Carnatic cover, and 1 original track called Mayeye, which is where I want to start. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but for me as a listener, this track comes across as a track which started more from an intangible concept, perhaps stemming from Badia's lyrics, rather than stemming from a tangible tune. And in your words, I'll quote you here, but the song is about, quote, a man who is caught in the illusion of material pleasures, with the woman, the spiritual voice within him, trying to help him choose the right path. So that's what you said describing the song. So just in general, where did this concept come from, and how did you go about manifesting that intangible concept into a tangible song?
So இந்த பாட்டு வந்து நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பாட்டா கேட்கல, லிரிக்ஸ் தான். எங்க அப்பா வந்து he has a big பாரதியார் book, கவிதைகள் book. So he had come to visit us. Appa and Amma had come to visit us in Chicago, and he had this book with him, and we was just reading it out as a poetry. And we were discussing about the concept of Maya in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, and what is Maya today. We were actually talking about the whole currency system, and it was actually on a different level. The topic was different. But then it finally boiled down to the Maya within us. What is good? What is bad? How are we to decide what is good and what is bad? And went on to that. And somehow the word Maya was stuck in my head. It was almost like a loop. I wanted to use those verses as a musical piece and get the depth of those lyrics across to a listener. Because in the poetry நம்ம வந்து வெறும்ன poetry-ஆ படிச்சானாக்கா அது வந்து only for people who really really understand the depth of that language அவளுக்கு இதாகும். So I wanted to இத பாட்டுல எப்படி கொண்டு வரலாம், how do and the music has to be in such a way that it resonates completely with the lyrics. Initially when I had sung the track, ஒரு கிளிக் போட்டு பாடினேன். உன்னை அறிந்த அவர் உன்னை கழிப்பரோ மாயே. My inspiration for this was ஒரு முறை வந்து பாராயோ. You know, it's a very nice song actually, but it hits you in a spot where you're like, oh my god, that lady is here somewhere. The veena oda and the notes, it's there in my head. It cannot be taken away. So எனக்கு வந்து அந்த ஒரு முறை வந்து பாராயோ கேக்கறச்சே தானா தானா வந்து தானா, you know, she's ஏக்கமா she's singing that, right? So அந்த மாதிரி I wanted the song அப்படியே to be you know, one with the lyrics. நிறைய கர்நாடிக் சிங்கர்ஸ் இந்த பாட்டை இந்த டியூன்ல பாடியிருக்கா. I'm not going to say no, but I wanted to see, as I said, I always have had this that என்னோட வாய்ஸ்ல நான் எப்படி இதை பாட போறேன், how is it going to come when it comes through me, come across. And when I sang this as just a track and just with the click, you will not believe, I was in India and I had shown this song to countless multiple music producers. I said, please can you help me arrange this song, please can you help me produce this song. And they would give me some reason or the other and it would just fizzle away. I didn't at one point know if they were not interested in the song, because I completely believed in the song. And it just didn't work out. And I'm not somebody who likes to force, you know, people to work. It just has to happen. And, you know, that's where the band culture comes in. Sometimes it will, like-minded people or completely too crazy people will somehow attract each other, right? So I was looking for a very like-minded brain, like-minded, you know, musically oriented person for this song in Chennai. It never worked out. But when I came here, I had this very, very random, I knew of this guy called Kedar, who was in Cincinnati. But because of the circle that we hang out in, we know each other, but we don't know each other. We've never spoken over the phone. So I said, you know what? It was a very, very late Friday evening. I said, Katie, I'm just gonna give a call to this guy and I'm gonna see if he can resonate with whatever the song is and what I'm gonna talk. Otherwise, I'm just going to release this with just clicks or just a tambura. But I want the song to be out. So he was like, okay, send it. I mean, there's nothing wrong, right? Like one last shot. Let's try it. Friday, 7 o'clock evening, spoke to him. I said, hey, I introduced myself. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I said, I'm planning to work on this independent stuff. Do you think you have the time to listen to it and, help me out? Do you think we can, collab on something? I said, yeah, I'm really up for collab, man. Just send it, and gave me his email, sent it. And I already had a vision and a particular sounding for this track in my head. I needed some trance kind of sound with a lot of bass and just very earthiness, and not losing the spiritual element of the song. And that guy, exactly after 4 minutes, calls me and he says, gee, is this and up until then it was very formal, okay, between us. And then suddenly he calls up and says, gee, is this Bharadiyar lyrics? I said, yes. Oh my God, thank you. and he didn't even wait. He was like, I'm thinking maybe we should give this trance kind of thing and make it like sound very exotic and have these. I'm like, and I was like in tears. I said, I meant to, yeah. And God, Katie was like, what's up? I said, I found my crazy guy. So when we worked, when I gave him the song, and when he said, you know what, I'm just going to do something crazy. This is how it's going to sound. And I said, this is exactly what I want. So you go for it. He worked on it. Friday, the same night, 11:30, I receive an email and he says, just listen to it. We can add more layers or whatever. But if this is the way that you want your song to sound, because I don't want to do something really bizarre and you not liking it at all. Like my bizarre and your bizarre, it needn't be on the same level, but it should be at least on the same page. So we did that, and it was literally the same sound that I had in my mind. And kid you not, it was literally the same sound. And I said, we are going to work on this, and the nice thing is he understands the depth of the lyrics as well. So when I explained the concept to him about the whole, me being the spiritual part and, him trying to run away from reality, but the Maya is trying to, somehow pierce through him, and that whole concept, he readily accepted it. And we pulled in Jayaraj, who's the director of the video. He has done a lot of documentaries in the Himalayas, in Nepal, North India, and a lot of South India that has been covered for his work. And his Tamil is beautiful. So we didn't have to explain the song as much. It just happened. Like three of us, we'd gone to Indiana. We rolled off a small little mountain and, a sand hill. And that is our song. And this is not a song for an entire audience. It's for a niche. It's for a particular kind of listener. Like, for example, my dad said, "Idu verum tambura la pannirkalame. What is this?" Because he's very hardcore Carnatic. Whereas my friend was like, "Oh my God, what? This is amazing. You've presented Carnatic in such a different way." And then there was another person who said, "I love that you've given so much of importance to the lyrics. That's come across in the music and visuals." So Ottotar, they see it in their perspective, and you are very happy because everyone is connecting to you in a different way, but you know that you have connected with those people through this song, and that's a good feeling. So that's how Maya happened, and that was my first song with Kedar that I worked for.
I have a question about the music video and the sort of concept that's presented. So for me, the ending of the song, like visually, was slightly unclear because the first part had the woman chasing the man, which I assumed was the woman in the man trying to get the man to hold on to the spiritual purity inside him. But in the end, you push him over and he ends up chasing you. So what's the sort of thinking behind that, and what's that supposed to signify?
So when the concept was that when I push him, it's not pushing him, it's pushing the ego within him. It's going away from him, it's going down. And then when he gets up, he understands, when the ego is lost, he kind of understands what he had in him for such a long time. And then he sees me up front, and now he's trying to chase me again because he wants more of that. He wants more clear understanding of life, and he wants to get into a clearer path. But I run away from him saying, well, I'm not easy. You got to work, buddy, to get to that state of mind. So that's what the last part. Yeah, and that's why we show the water in the first part is a little upside down. The waves are upside down, and in one of the shots. But at the end of it, it's upside down, but it's more clearer. So yeah, that's something that the director also strongly felt that we should do this. And Kedar didn't like rolling off the cliff as much because I didn't have to do that. He had to do it a couple of times. So, but this is what we had in mind when we shot the video.
That's really interesting. Obviously, this was part of a mini EP, as I mentioned before, which had 4 songs. And I want to touch on the last track of the EP, which is a cover of the Jayaraj Kriti, Sujana Jivana, which very much has a transish feel to it. And it's a sort of subgenre that AR Rahman helped open the doors to. And I felt similarities with Sujana Jivana compared to, coincidentally, songs from films that you sung in, Nane Varigin and Benazara from Okay Kanmani and Mom, respectively. So were you sort of consciously going for that kind of vibe, or was it just, the Carnatic part of you and the sort of producer, trance, or like electronic side of Kedar coming together and just manifesting into reality?
So Sujana Jivana, I selected that song because it's got fairly not too many ups and downs. Napadin in the version, it's pretty straightforward, and so I made it seem quite straightforward because I wanted to see harmonize idhula eppadi pannalam. A cappella version. Think of it as an a cappella version. I didn't want any other instruments added initially when we recorded. We recorded it here right in this room. It was just, I just wanted to try Carnatic a cappella. Adla panna mudiyuma, pannina eppadi irukum, accept pannuvala, like what would people think? Do you think this kind of experiment would be accepted? Those kind of stuff. It was nothing to do with trying to get inspired from film songs, or it was nothing of that sort. It was just simple Carnatic song. Adla, if we can do an a cappella, how would it sound? That's it. After we recorded the song with the harmonies and with the other embellishments, it kind of gave a sort of wholesome or wholesome effect to it, which both Kedar and myself, I liked it too. And we didn't want to make a video for it. We just wanted to make a very lyrical video for it. But then we thought it had already been a year since we both had met and we had brought out a song. Mandram, we had done Maaye, and then we had not done anything. There's a sound for every band. And I wanted to hold to that, that sounding. I wanted it to be established. So I thought, why not Sujana? It's not completely trance. It's not too electronic. We are experimenting, but we're still somewhat in that safe zone. Let's see how this goes. And that's how Sujana Jivana's video also is very tamed. Unlike Unmai Arindavar, where we went full on because we wanted a very impactful video. Whereas for Sujana Jivana, we knew the song in itself was a very tamed down version. It is a song to put Lord Rama to sleep. So there is only so much you can play around with visuals. Let's see what we can work on. And that's Sujana Jivana.
And outside Mandiram, you recently released an independent track through Undraga Entertainment, which is as I mentioned before, titled Mantirikandra Poradil. There's definitely a commercial element to that song, just purely through the fact that you've released it through a major label. But, the sort of cool jazz, feel to it is very unconventional in India. So how do you strike that balance between commerciality and musicality? And is there a balance that needs to be struck at all?
So, Van Tirukindra Porudil, I did not compose it. My husband composed it. My job was to just sing. And we knew from the very beginning that he was comfortable only with the keys, because he used to play when he was in school, and then he completely left it and he didn't get into music. He's a complete IT guy, and it doesn't matter. Right now, he's more into sound engineering and recording me and all of that, but never composing or playing an instrument, none of that. So when we worked on Van Tirukindra, which was 5 years ago, was when 5-6 years ago was when I was actively listening to a lot more jazz, and when he had also gotten into a little bit of jazz, and he also started enjoying it. So we wanted a song that would have lot more piano and my vocals. We never thought of including the guitar for the BGM and whatever. After we heard the song, we felt maybe a string instrument would enhance the existing core tune. So we played the tune, and we had a guitarist, Bob, who played the guitars for the song. And then we felt good about it. Like, there was nothing alarmingly new about the song, but to us it was not too bad either. It was okay. It was a decent composition. I enjoyed singing. It's a soft song. It's a love song. It's a song for the girl herself who was singing. It's not for somebody else. It's for me. I was singing it for myself. I liked the concept of it, and then we shelved it because we just did it for ourselves. And I actually had a lyrical video out a couple of years back, and then quickly realized that not many people are into this kind of music. It just didn't work. So then what happens is that as an artist, you feel, oh, nobody likes my work. So, I mean, even after like 2 years, if the views are just going to be like 85 views on YouTube, then I don't know, maybe our tunes are not okay. So let's just not do it anymore. That was our initial thought. I don't want to sound negative or too judgmental about our work, but this is how we really felt. We just thought this was not working. After about 6 years, last year, when I had visited India, we played this song to my friend, Surya, who's the director of the song that you see on Unraga. He worked as an AD for Gautam Vasudev Menon, sir. So he heard the song and he was like, so where's the video? And I said, well, we've not thought about a video because, we put a lyrical video out and it's just people don't like it. And he said, you've got to be crazy. This is a beautiful tune. And I think it requires a decent launch. I don't think this is going to work out if you just put it on your YouTube or your any other page. I think it requires a good launch. And so we played the song to GVM sir. He liked it. And I feel Unraga Entertainment has been like an amazing platform for a lot of independent artists. Even before me, I think they do a lot of stuff, not just for singing. It's like short films. Any good content is taken and it's appreciated. It's valued, and it's also given, presented in a way that people are drawn towards, and they're like, oh, it's well established. So I thought, okay, we'll go for it. We'll give it another try. It's not a big deal. And we didn't have any budget for this video. And I cannot thank Mr. Surya enough that he finished the whole shooting and the movie making in 4 hours with just an iPhone. So this was completely shot on iPhone. It was not too bad on the budget. And the production was taken care of so really well. And the launch was not something that we expected at all. There are many, many times when you have so many, songs being launched by such big, production houses. And, if people don't like it, they don't like it. So I always had a fear, we put it a few years back, people didn't like it. What if we have such a big launch, and what if people really don't like it? That means, was that really bad? Was our song really bad? You kind of question yourself. And then we were like, okay, let's hold on to it. Let's see what happens after the release. And the amount of retweets and the appreciation and the positivity and the love that we got for the song was unbelievable. I didn't expect it. I was hoping it wouldn't be, trashed down. That was my real hope. Because the song is close to our heart. We love it, but we don't know how people would take it. And it's amazing and I should really thank Onraga Entertainment, Mr. Surya and Mr. Gautam Vasudev Menon for, giving us such a nice platform. So, Vaanthirakintra Poludhu, again, no agenda with the kind or style or genre of music. It just straight from the heart. And we just wanted these two instruments and my vocals, and we just played around with it and had a very, very simple recording.
So outside of your independent work, I'm also aware that you're a teacher right now of Carnatic music. And this is it's not related to your teaching experiences specifically, but it's more of a general conception that I just want to throw at you as a teacher. I've read and heard many Carnatic teachers talk about a conflict in motives between the teacher teaching a child and some parents of certain students. And sometimes while the teacher would want to, patiently guide the student through the basics, which can take a number of years in Carnatic, some parents may want the child to go up on stage and sing full-fledged compositions pretty much from the get-go. Have you ever dealt with situations like these? And if so, how do you go about it?
My mom's a teacher. She's not a music teacher, but she's been a school teacher ever since I could remember. And she's been an HOD of art department. So I've seen many parents who would come home and talk to her about their kid and wanting their child to, be on stage, school shows, or why don't you select, my child's painting is so good, you should put it on the wall, and those kind of queries. I've also seen how beautifully she managed answering them. She would never say a no, but she would know what to say and how to say it to a parent. And I think because of that, she has never gone and asked my music teacher, when will Darshana be on stage? Or, because she's a teacher herself.
Yeah.
They just trusted the teacher. They or any entity teaching nale adu you should trust the teacher, and for that 1 hour it's not your child, it is the teacher's student. It's a time for the bond to be created, and it's a lot more. It's not just sarali varse, janda varse. It's a lot more. I don't have too many students that I teach. I have a very, very, very few students, and all of them are chintus. So, but the parents come in with a lot of expectations. And living in Chicago, it's even more so because this is the way they're trying to inject culture into their child.
Yeah.
Right? It's you wouldn't find this kind of pressure in India. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I find that kids are more under pressure over here because they are in turn. They need to go perform every 6 months in some Sabha Kacheri or Kovil Kacheri, or somebody knows somebody who's going to, have a big singer as a guest. So when that is your goal, you forget Sarigama Padanisa vande Shrudila padrada, breath control irka, akaram seriya varda, third speedliyum and akaram seriya varda. There are multiple. They don't care. So once salary verse is done, Kirtanam epo solli kodukka.
0 to 100.
0 to 100. There have been many times where I worked on a Varnam with a kid. This happened very recently. It's so strange that you asked me this question. Very recently, there was a child and the parent decided to discontinue. And sadly, but with a heavy heart, I was okay to let go of that kid because I saw that kid in a lot of pressure. The mother comes and tells, Pallavi eduthachu, Anupallavi eduthachu, why don't you start the Sahityam? Okay, but Pallavi, Anupallavi, Muttai Swaram. First Swaram, first speed varno, second speed varno. Apro, if the child is really good, Tishram padano. Adukapro, if the child is really, really good, let's see how the child does in fourth speed. Yes, I will teach the Sahityam, but Varnam is, no matter what you do, Varnam is the foundation.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you cannot deny it. I have started going for music classes again, Carnatic music. And I've started learning again. And this is as recent as a year back I started. எனக்கு அந்த டீச்சர் சொன்னா, லைக் ஐ நோ யூ finished Varnam, but I think we'll have to work on your Sarali Varsai, Janda Varsai. Every class, 20 minutes அதை பாடிட்டு தான் அடுத்தது போக முடியும். Now, I cannot tell her, hey, you know what? I've sung for so and so. I have all these accomplishments. So you start Varnam straight. I cannot say that. Because conditioning. I've not had my mom do it, and I've not seen my mother do it. It doesn't come to me automatically. Because I see other parents do it, I know how, like, it's such an awkward space to be in. You don't know how to like respond to it. So, sonnada kekanum, because teacher knows more than you. She's listening to you. How you sound inside your head is so different from how other people. This is the reality. Number inside your head, your voice sounds different. When you hear it, it's different. So trust the teacher. அது எனக்கு நடக்கல. And I tried explaining, but she was like, no, I think you need to move forward. So that's when parents start deciding what the format of the class should be, is when it starts getting a little difficult. Because not everyone can finish Sarali Varsai in 6 months. Some kids take 8 months. And it's okay. And there are other kids who are so intrigued by, oh, Melakatta Ragam ivlo iruke. How would this sound in Shankarabharanam? How would this sound in Pantuvarali? Now, when a child is asking that question, I don't see it as, oh, it's not in portion, you cannot ask this. To me, I see it as a very inquisitive child. இது கேட்கறதே, அப்போ இந்த மார்க்கும் அந்த மார்க்கும் நம்ம டிஃபரன்ஸ் சொல்லணுமே, right? But what the parent is doing is, எனக்கு 45 minutes time. Your thing was to teach Sarali Varsai. Why aren't you? Why are you doing other things? Like, it's a very black and white situation that they want to treat. Sometimes it's okay to incorporate colors. It's okay for the child to ask questions and dab a little bit, and just trust the teacher in this process. And it's not just for music enkita kattukrava mattum na sollala. In any form of art, it's a way for it's literally your brain branching out and exploring. And especially with young minds, they have so many questions. They don't, and living outside of India, you're already not part of that culture. You don't know why certain things are celebrated and certain things are not celebrated, right? So a lot of confusions இருக்கும் ஒரு குழந்தைக்கு. அது வந்து திடீர்னு, like இங்க யூஎஸ்ல வந்து it's not a culture to showcase your talent when someone comes home. நீ பாடி காமி பாப்போம், டான்ஸ் ஆடி காமி பாப்போம் is a very common thing in India.
Yeah.
But in the US, it's not. So when the child is not asked to do other things, but வா வந்து பாடி காமி பாப்போம், and it's like, why should I? You don't ask me to do other things. Why are you asking me to do this? So there's always a conflict. And adu vandu the parent, I think parents have to consciously make an effort to trust the teacher and then move forward.
Look, I mean, I think as we've explored throughout our conversation, you've been through quite the musical journey. And actually right now you're also a parent. So hypothetically speaking, if your daughter says, I want to do music, I want to become a musician, what advice would you give her, given what you've been through and given what you've observed in the industries you've been part of?
I think from my personal experience, I wouldn't want my daughter to immediately start performing anywhere. Because growing up, my parents never put me under that pressure of being in a reality show or singing you have to go sing on stage, or the panniye aganu. There's never that. So I'm going to try my best to not put that pressure on her, and thereby in hope that she will not have that want. And she has to understand that music is, if she chooses music, It could be an instrument, it could be singing, vocals, whatever. It has to be a very organic process, and she's going to have a lot of questions about herself, the identity crisis. I find a lot of that in her more because she's the quote unquote NRI growing up. So I cannot be in a state where I say, unless I practice music every day, I cannot expect my child to practice music or dance every day. So I have to make a conscious decision to live the life for her to learn, because it's easy to say it. My mother lived in a way that it influenced me in a positive way. Like, I've seen her balancing home life and work life. I've seen how she's taken in a lot. She's been like a punch bag, but she's handled it with grace, and she smiled through it all. So she didn't sit me at Starbucks one day and explain, hey, you know what happened the last 25 years? This is how I dealt with life. It was never a conversation. It's me watching her every day, and without my knowledge, I've taken notes. So whatever little bit of parenting I do today is completely influenced by only one human being, and that's my mother. And what I've learned is monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey do.
Right? So the only advice I can give my child is to live the advice. If I want her to practice, I need to practice. If I want her to be consistent, I need to show that I am consistent. If I want her to know that this is how you balance your work life and your home, then I got to do it. Today, she sees that I travel for work and I come back. And when someone says, oh, aren't you missing your mother? And she says, no. And they are more shocked with the answer. Because since the age of 3, I have been doing that. She feels, well, Appa is there to take care of me. Which means both me and my husband have to work in such a way that we make sure that the children don't miss us. So when I'm not around, he is there 100%. And when he is at work or he is off touring somewhere, I push aside everything and I'm there 100%. And so my child is growing up knowing that it's okay to have a full-time music career or any career, and also have a proper family and make sure that everyone needs to be on the table for dinner. It is possible. It is a lot of work, but when other people cannot comprehend, you gave a show 2018 with Rahman sir and you toured naan, 2 cities pona, Chicago and Houston.
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you manage all that? And for me, it was like, it's just a weekend. The shows happen on a Saturday and Sunday. And it's not a big deal because that's how we function. And it's conditioning. So if you want your kids to be influenced, you need to start being that. In my opinion. I hope I'm doing the right thing. We'll know after 20 years.
So, I mean, we've had quite the chat.
Yeah,
It's been extremely interesting hearing everything you had to say about so many topics, but I'll just wind up and go into the final segment of this podcast. And firstly, I'd just like to ask you, on a general note, what does the future hold for you from a musical perspective?
I'm going to take it one step at a time. I think right now I'm in a space where the situation is such that I can actually explore a lot more in the independent scene. I can get into learning a lot more. I'm getting back to the practice zone where I have like a proper teacher and she's saying, "Idu seriyilla." So I'm getting back to understanding that, okay, Nariya Vishwa seriyilla, but we have to like work, and it's a continuous process. So doing that. And there are a couple of projects that I'm recording from here, movie projects, if that's what you mean. There are a couple of projects that is in store. We don't know when it will be released, but this time has definitely helped me collaborate with a lot more artists and exploring, learning. And for the most part, just sitting back and looking at what other people are doing.
All right. So before I ask the final question, I usually ask to any guest that comes on. Obviously, you're a brilliant singer, and I don't think listeners would be very happy with me if I let you go without having you sing. if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So just a few requests from my side. I think we have to start with the song that started you as a singer, which is Madurai Kapogadari, even though I know you have to sing it in every interview. But
Okay. I'll sing a couple of lines from everything. How about that? Okay.
Sure.
So here goes. சூரியனோ சந்திரனோ இவன் யார் இவனோ சட்டென சொல்லு சேர பாண்டிய சூரனும் இவனா சொல்லு சொல்லு சட்டென சொல்லு ஓஹோ காட்டு குயிலு கட்டி கதா தமிழ்நாட்டு புயலும் வந்திருச்சே ஹோ ஜோரா ஜோரா வரும் வீரா வீரா तू नील समंदर है तू नील समंदर है पप्पू कैन डांस साला दिल कभी गंदा कभी है नेक बंदा दिल का भरोसा करे तो क्या करे கருப்பு பேர் அழகா கண்ணுக்குள்ள நிக்கிறிய ஜோரா கிழிஞ்சு புட்ட நாரா அடியா தாத்தா குங்குமப்பூ மூட்டைய தின்னுகிட்டுங்கம்மா பெத்தாளா ஹோ காரா அட்டக்காரா காத்திருக்கேனே காரா அட்டக்காரா காத்திருக்கேனே ஹோ ஆட்டக்காரா காத்திருக்கனே மன 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 மென்டல் மதிலோ గన 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 గంటల సడిలో ఠక 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 తుంటరి లయలో ఓకే అని చలరే గాలి பிரிவொன்று நேரும் இன்று தெரியும் கண்ணா என் பிரியத்தை அதனாலே குறைக்க மாட்டேன் மாஃபி மாஃபி முஷ்கில் மாஃபி மாஃபி முஷ்கில் கலீலா குரிலே 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 நெடிலே 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 ஏலே தொடலே 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 நீ மட்டும் போதும் போதும் வேறென்ன வேணும் வேணும் நீ மட்டும் உண்மை அறிந்தவர் உன்னை கழிப்பரும் மாயே சுஜன ஜீவனா ராம சுகுண பூஷண ராம சுஜன ஜீவனா வான் திறக்கின்ற பொழுதில் ஓருலாவரும் நிலா நான் நினைவென்னும் படகில் ஓர் நிற்காத ஊஞ்சலா. I think I covered most of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll just finish off with the question that I ask any guest that comes on. And it's a simple question. What's on your playlist right now?
I have a couple of songs. Monster by Eminem. And I am listening to Nicki Minaj and Ariana, Beyonce, Adele, Ella Fitzgerald, Frank Sinatra. I'm listening to old MSV Sir songs. I'm listening to Naushad Sir songs, really, really old songs. I'm listening to a couple of Pakistani ghazals, the live recordings. And yeah, Beyonce is my constant. So yeah, but Beyonce and Eminem are my absolute constant.
All right, I think we'll finish off there. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the listeners for tuning in. If you're not following Darshana on her social media already, make sure to go do so with the links in the description. Thank you so very much for your time.
I had such a good time chatting with you.
Well, that was Darshana KT on today's episode of the Indoencers Podcast. You can find us at the Indoencers, spelled THEINDOENCERS, on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or you can use the links in the description. Likewise, you can find our homepage at theindoencers.wordpress.com or through the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the Indoencers Podcast on your favorite podcasting platform. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.